Hello everybody and welcome to the first video of Trains, Planes, and Games. My name's Alistair, I'm the content creator of the channel. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Quick introduction to the channel: Trains, Planes, and Games will focus on, as it sounds, train simulators and flight simulators, but there will be a couple of games sprinkled in, other simulators, as well as just some other general games. Today we are going to be starting with the train side of Trains, Planes, and Games. We are in Run8 Train Simulator version 3 here in Barstow, California. I'm going to be running this train in front of us. It is the H-BARSTO, a mixed freight from Barstow, California to Stockton, California, up in northern central California. I'll be running this as far north as we can get today. For those who have not played Run8 before, it is a modern and advanced train simulator based in the United States. And best way to put it, it is a great way for you to work for the railroad without actually working for the railroad. I'll talk more about Run8 as we get down the line, but if you are interested, link is in the description below to the Run8 website if you would like to purchase the game or check it out for yourself. Additionally, we are on multiplayer today. That is one of the perks of Run8. It does have single player and multiplayer. We are on the Depot Plus multiplayer server. I will talk more about Depot Plus as well as we go down the line, so if you are interested as well in multiplayer, specifically Depot Plus, I've also included a link in the description below for that site if you would like to check that out. But for now, let's go ahead and get this train started. Head up the hill towards Mojave and onwards towards Bakersfield, and farther north up California. Alright, we're now in the cab of the ES-44DC that we have on the front of our train today, BNSF 7284. We're going to make sure everything is ready to go before we depart. First things first, we'll make sure some of these switches are thrown. Engine 1 is good, gen field is on, and the control switch are on. Dynamics brakes also are on. We can leave the cabin light off, step light is on, and everything else is looking good on that panel there. We'll come into the back, make sure the engine run switch is set to the run position, and our short hood lead for the headlight setup is checked. We are good to go there. Get the headlight to the dim position in preparation for our departure. And from there, we're going to go ahead and get our DPUs set up, which we will do through the power of teleportation and flying down the track. For those who do not know, DPUs are basically these locomotives in the middle and back of the train. These units are basically acting as remote control locomotives. They will be controlled by radio frequency from the head end of the train. So there is no engineer in the locomotive, but they will be pushing the train down the line. We're going to go ahead and get them set up here now. The lead one should say DPU lead forward, and it is a DPU. That is all correct. Next one should be just MU'd, connected as a secondary unit. And our mid-train units are looking good here. We'll go on all the way to the back of the train now. Check the back two units here. Next one should say DPU lead, but it is a reverse DPU. As you can see, it's facing backwards. And then we'll make sure this one is set as the MU'd DPU, which is correct. And everything is looking good there. We're going to come down now to the back of the train. Just make sure our end of train device is activated, which it is, and our headlight is set to dim on the rear. This is our marker light. That is good to go as well. With that all good, we can then teleport back into the head end of the train, and we are looking good there. We are looking good here on the train. I'm going to do a quick brake test now. We'll be watching these numbers right here. Currently the brake pressure is set at 70. I'm going to take off the handbrake on the locomotive, and we'll go ahead and leave the locomotive brakes set, but we're going to release the train brakes, bring that up to 90 to make sure the air is running all the way through the train. For those, again, who are not train enthusiasts or don't know much about trains, the brakes are run through brake pressure, which flows through. If we go outside, you'll see down the train, the brake pressure flows through, the air flows through these hoses right here, and that is how the brake pressure goes all the way through the train. The higher the pressure, up to 90 psi, means that the train brakes are released. If it is 0, that means there is no air running through the cars, and that means the brakes are fully applied, or in the railroad case, that's an emergency stop. We've gone ahead and just done a quick brake test to make sure that the train brakes are releasing, which We've set it to 90, so basically fully released. It has come up to 89. That is indicating that the front is released, and you see on the rear as well, 89 indicates it is released too. So we're going to do a quick setting of the brakes. I'll bring it to 82. Make sure it responds, 82, and the rear is 82 as well. So our brakes are looking good. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to check our DPUs to make sure we set them up correctly. I'm just going to apply some power to the train. And the other two that say idle here on the screen should go to N1 as well. That'll indicate that the DPUs are working. The middle and rear are responding, so we can go ahead and cut the power again off the front, and they will all go to idle. Perfect. That is a good test of our DPUs here. And from there, we're pretty much good to go. So what we're going to go ahead and do is, since we are on a multiplayer server, we're going to go ahead and go on duty on the Depot Plus Operations Center. This is a good time to talk about multiplayer for those who are interested. There are a ton of multiplayer servers out there that you can play on. Some are more just for fun, for friends to hang out with, or for you to get to know the railroad operations. Others tend to be more prototypical and more advanced. The Depot server offers both standard multiplayer servers for you to just kind of get to know the multiplayer community, get to know Run8, get to know how to handle a train, talk to the community, and then when you're ready for a more challenging experience, then you can apply to the Depot Plus, which is what we're on today. Depot Plus is the more advanced server. You're going to be finding more prototypical operations, and everything on here has a purpose. All these freight cars you see here in the yard, all these freight cars are heading to someplace in the map on Run8. They're heading to customers along the routes, or they're heading off map, but they all have a purpose, they're all important, and that is the beauty about Run8 is, again, it makes you feel like you are a railroader without working officially for the railroad. Since we are on the prototypical server, Depot Plus, there is an operating screen that you do have to check all your train information, you have to go on duty for, you have to basically check everything. You're not just grabbing a train and going. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to go on duty. Okay, so I'm on duty now as the engineer. We are about to depart. I'm going to quickly do a final verification that everything is correct on this train, read all instructions, and basically do a quick departure briefing. Today's train, we are the H-BARSTO 208A. As you can see here in the symbol, that does match my paperwork. Lead engine is the BNSF 7284. That is checked right there. Our train total length today is 7,721 feet. That is checked right there. Our HPT, or horsepower per tonnage, is 3.4. That is also checked. Train weight is 9,360 tons. That is correct. Our TOB is 76. That is correct. 123 cars on board this train, a total of 53 loads and 70 empties. And you can see there it does say the 130. That is correct because it's 123 cars plus we should have 7 locomotives as well. I'm going to just verify we do. 3 up the front, 2 in the middle, and 2 at the back. So that is all correct. Train max speed 55 miles per hour, axle count 534. That is all looking good here in the paperwork, and I can verify that everything is correct on the train as well. Now, as I said earlier, Depot Plus does have prototypical operations. These cars do have a purpose. They are heading somewhere. For the most part of this train, all these cars are just heading to Stockton, which is not on the map, so they're just heading off route. There are 2 cars on the front. If you see, if we jump back out of the train again, and I turn on the destination tags, these 2 cars are bound for Fresno, California, which we will pass through. Maybe not necessarily in this video, but this train will pass through Fresno, California eventually. And whoever's running that train at that point will have to drop these cars off in the yard to be delivered to an industry in Fresno. So there's one of the beauties of Run8. It's not just go from point A to point B, it's you actually have work en route that you have to do. In this case, drop off some cars at Fresno. Alright, we'll jump back in. So everything is looking good. The only instructions I have on the train today that I'm seeing, we are not allowed to exceed 8,000 feet. which is correct. We're good, 7,721. We do have to set out our DPUs and check for pickups in Bakersfield Yard. We probably are not going to make it to Bakersfield today, but if we did, we would have to drop off those DPUs in the back of the train and probably the ones in the middle of the train as well. Those DPUs are currently here for the trip up and over to Tehachapi Pass between here and Bakersfield, which has a lot steeper grade than after Bakersfield. So we won't need those DPUs after Bakersfield, but they're there right now just for reasons of steep grades. We also have to set out orders and check for pickups at Calwa Yard in Fresno. Again, I don't think we're going to make it to Fresno today. That's a good several hours of driving, but that is the instructions for this train. So basically, all we need to know is we have nothing we need to do until Bakersfield. So we're just going to run this train all the way to Bakersfield, and we'll see how far we get. I don't know if we'll make it to Bakersfield. We might make it only a certain distance, but let's have some fun. Last disclaimer, I am not a real engineer. I do not operate trains in real life, and I do not work for the railroad. So while I'm going to try and be as professional and realistic as possible, I'm not going to know everything. There will be mistakes made. Just a disclaimer there for you if you are watching this video. All right, we're ready to go. So we actually have already been cleared to leave by another member on the Depot Plus. They've given us our signals, so we just need to pull out here and start heading for the BNSF Mojave subdivision, which is located just up here down this main line, and we'll hang a right turn and start heading northwest towards Mojave, California. So with that, we're going to get the headlights set to full. We're going to put our reverser to the forward position. We're going to go ahead and release the train brakes back to 90. Let some crews know where we're pulling out. We'll go ahead and give us a little bit of power here. We'll give us notch 2 for power out of here. That should be enough. Our DPUs are responding still. We'll start releasing the locomotive brakes on the front. Just ease it off. We should start moving here. There we go. We're on our way. EOT move comes up. That indicates that the back of the train is moving as well. So everything is moving. We are on our way out of Barstow. So as I mentioned earlier, another member of the Depot Plus who is online currently lined us out of Barstow Yard and towards the Mojave subdivision, where we're going to be heading towards Mojave, California. That is one of the great aspects of Run 8, is that there is dispatching in this game. If I pull up the tab here, this is the dispatch screen for Barstow Yard, and you can see that line. That is our route out of Barstow towards Hinckley and on towards Mojave, California. Now, this is a multiplayer server, so a dispatcher could be online. If a dispatcher were online, we would be calling for permission to leave the yard. We would be talking to them for instructions, how things were going. But today, there is no dispatcher on duty, so we are just going to line ourselves, or in this case, one of the other users lined our path for us. So one of the big pros, dispatching, really fun, especially if you're interested in that dispatching aspect. I have a lot of fun. I've been a dispatcher on here before as well, and it's a lot of fun. So another plus of Run 8 if this is something you are interested in. As we leave the yard, we're currently going 15 miles an hour. I'm going to go ahead and pull the power back. When you leave the yard, you are in an uncontrolled area. Basically, there's no signals, so max speed is 15 miles an hour. You can usually do 20 if you want, but I try and do 15. And we are waiting for that distance counter to reach 7,721 feet. That would indicate that our train has left the yard behind, and we can go on to mainline speeds. Alright, we're coming up to CP Valley Junction, and we have a diverging clear indication, which is the red over green above there. That means we're going to be hanging a right turn here at that junction. If you continued straight, we'd be heading towards Cajon Pass and Los Angeles, California. Which brings the question, how far can you go on a route in Run 8? So another great part about Run 8 is that they combine all the routes into one region, essentially. There are a total of 5 regions that you can run in Run 8. We are on the southwest region, which starts in Seligman, Arizona to the east, goes all the way to Los Angeles, California to the west, and goes as far north as Fresno, California currently. The other regions are the CSX Southeast Division, which runs from Orlando, Florida to Waycross, Georgia, and all the way north to Manchester, Georgia, a little bit east to Savannah, Georgia. And then there's the CSX Northeast Division, which runs from Selkirk, New York to Syracuse, New York, and a little bit of an Amtrak extension down to Hudson, New York. And the last 2 that were just recently released are the NS Pittsburgh line, or the Pennsylvania region. It runs from Tyrone, Pennsylvania to Johnstown, Pennsylvania, including the NS South Fork Secondary over the famous Horseshoe Curve. And the last is the Northern California Division, which is Union Pacific's main line over Donner Pass from Roseville, California to Reno, Nevada. So there's a lot of territory for you to explore, a lot of territory to check out, different places as well. That is a great part about this sim. While most simulators just release a quick 40-50 miles of DLC that you can go travel on, everything here is connected, so it forms a bigger world rather than just 1 or 2 routes. And with that, we are coming up to the final 1,000 feet of clearing the yard. You can actually see, sort of back there, you can see the our train snaking along out of Barstow Yard. And in a minute, that distance counter is going to start beeping at us. That'll indicate we have cleared 7,700 feet. We are out of the yard, and we can resume normal speed, which for here is 45 miles per hour, and in a minute we will be able to go up to 55 miles per hour. There's the beep. So we'll go ahead and stop the distance counter, put some more power onto the train, as we are good to go on the main line. Alright, we've officially left Barstow behind. We are now on the BNSF Mojave subdivision main line, heading towards Mojave, California. We're currently only able to go 45 miles an hour, but in a second we will be able to go 55, as you can see up in the distance here. There's a speed board right here, indicates passenger trains can go 70, that is the P up there, and the F indicates 70. Now, we can't go 70 because we are a mixed freight train, and mixed freights are capped at 55 miles per hour. There are special exceptions as well to this, but in general, 55 is the max speed for a mixed freight train. 70 miles an hour would be approved for a domestic or international container train, as well as the auto racks that carry the cars. We are not one of those today, so we are only able to go 55. Additionally, we are not able to go 55 until we clear the marker, so as you might have noticed, I started the distance timer again. Once we get to, again, 7,721 feet, we will be able to go up to 55 miles an hour. So I've gone about 20 miles so far on the trip, and we're going to be coming up to our first defect detector shortly. Defect detectors, basically what they are going to scan our train to check if there's any issues with the train that need to be taken care of. These defects could lead to derailments, so we don't want that to happen. Our first detector is going to be coming up here, milepost 766.0, just past this grade crossing here. And it'll be right up here at the signal. Defect detectors check for different things. One of the things they checked for is if we're dragging any equipment. This could be if we're dragging something on a car, or if we're dragging something on, for say we're dragging a cardboard box or something like that. Here's the defect detector here.
BNSF detector, milepost 766.0.
So like I said, it could be anything that we're dragging, from cardboard box to a piece of the actual car is dragging. It'll check this and let us know if we're dragging anything. The second kind of defect we might end up with could be a hot axle or a hot wheel. Basically, this means that one of our cars may have a handbrake on, or one of the wheels, the brake is stuck, and it's basically causing extreme... we're basically dragging the car along with the brakes stuck. So those wheels will get really hot, and a temperature reader in that detector will go off saying we have a hot axle, and we'll need to stop, check the brakes, and also cool down those wheels, because that could lead to a derailment, and we do not want that to happen. The last defect that we might encounter while not being checked by that defect detector would be high wide loads. These detectors are protecting tunnel districts where we have to go through a lot of tunnels, and it's basically checking to make sure all the cars are able to fit through the tunnel. And we should be getting a report back here shortly from that detector.
BNSF detector, milepost 766.0. No defects. Repeat, no defects. Total axle 534. Train speed 54 mph. Temperature 79 degrees out.
So basically, as I mentioned, those high-wide loads, they'll check to make sure that the car's height and width will fit the tunnel portal itself. But that detector gave us a good report, no defects. It means there's nothing wrong with our train. It also gave us an axle count, which matched what we have, 534 axles. And it also gave us our train speed and the ambient temperature outside. So, no defects, we can continue our trip towards Mojave. Alright, so we're coming up to the boron sighting here, one of the passing sightings on the Mojave subdivision, and this will be a good spot to showcase the ability in Run8 to do industry deliveries and pickups, which is a feature that you can't find in many train simulators, but it is a big feature nonetheless. As I mentioned earlier with Run8, you have prototypical servers where trains have deliveries that need to be made, pickups that need to be made. Well, in addition to our road trains bringing cars to the yards or having them sorted around, there are also locals in the simulator that pick up and drop off deliveries at the actual industries themselves. One of those industries is here at Boron. It is the borax plant, which is located just to the right here. You might notice there's a little junction up here at the west end of the siding that heads off way into the distance over there. Down there is the borax plant, and in Depot Plus it's served by the 611 local. In real life, I believe it also is served by the 611 local. So, kind of shows how prototypical the operations are in the server and just can be done in Run8. Basically, the way that Run8 handles industries is that cars are delivered, either loaded or empty. The industry will then process them, and then they will come out the opposite of what they were delivered. So if a load gets delivered, it'll be ready for pickup as an empty. Additionally, Run8 also changes the tags on it, so while it may be symboled, in this case maybe borax is coded BOR, it will come in BOR and loaded, and when it's empty and ready for pickup, the tag will change to, say, GAL for Galesburg, Illinois, and the local could then pick up that car and bring it back to the yard, where it can then be put back onto a road train and brought on towards, in that case, Galesburg, Illinois. This really does show that Run8 focuses more on operations rather than just driving a train from point A to point B, which I do like about Run8. It doesn't feel like you're just going from one end to the other and that's it. It does feel like every train you are taking has a purpose in the server, and you feel like you're rewarded at the end of a long trip that you've actually moved actual cargo across the network rather than just going from start to finish. Now, in the case of Run8, these industries can be configured manually. So Depot Plus, we have our own industry configuration where certain industries are realistic, some are fictional, but you can create your own industry configuration in single player, and you can set up as many industries or as little industries as you want to work. You can also set up your operations to be modern prototypical, so BNSF, Union Pacific operations, or you could set it back into more like late 20th century and run Santa Fe operations or Southern Pacific operations, or you could just go full-on fictional if you wanted to and create your own railroad and name the industries what you want and just set up what you want picked up and dropped off from various industries along the line. That's the beauty about Run8. You can do pretty much anything in this game. There's not many limitations to it. There's basically pick whatever train you want, drive where you want, and you can work locals, you can work road trains, you can work dispatcher, you can run passenger, freight. You can even do some track maintenance in this game. While track maintenance is one of the limitations in the game, there is plenty of maintenance you can do fictionally in the game. So, plus there as well in the simulator. And yes, I know I'm speeding. Don't judge me. There's a reason PTC is not in this game. So this is a good example here of how an industry can be set up by the user to whatever they want to do. This is Edwards Air Force Base we're passing here, and passing Edwards siding specifically. In Depot Plus, this industry is not used, so we don't do any pickups or drop-offs here, but in the game's industry configuration, a player could configure it to have boxcars dropped off, or center beams with wood dropped off, or you could have them come in empty and have them loaded and picked up. Everyone that plays the game, it's as long as you're not on a multiplayer server, the industry config is yours to mess with, and you can do whatever you'd like. So we've got about 40 miles so far. on the trip, and we are going to be tying down the train at the next siding, which is Bissell Siding. The siding is 8,039 feet, and we're going to be parking the train here today. I could go farther if I wanted to, but the next siding up before Mojave is Sanborn, which is too small for us to fit in. It is 7,000 feet, we are 7,700 feet, and the next passing siding is way up the up and over the Tehachapi Pass, and that takes a while to get up and over that hill. Time today that I do not have, so we're going to be parking this train up at Bissell Siding for the day. So overall, Run8 Train Simulator is a fantastic game. I think it's definitely worth checking out if you're interested in train simulation. It's got, of course, single player, multiplayer, and the operations aspect is fantastic. The physics are extremely realistic. We've been kind of climbing a slow and steady grade out of Barstow. So you see, currently we are climbing enough that the train is at full power, notch 8, and we are still actually losing speed currently. But as soon as we start going down a hill, we would be gaining that speed right back up. So the physics are pretty accurate in this simulator. And then the big plus, of course, the operations. You can run road trains, passenger, deliver locals, be a dispatcher. You can do all of that stuff in the sim. It's got a lot of freedom to it. There are some areas of improvement that I would like to see worked on. I think the track maintenance side would be something that could be worked on more. Right now you can run a high rail on there, and there is like locomotive failures, stuff like that can be encountered mid-trip, but that's kind of it. There's nothing such as broken rails, signal failures, crossing failures, stuff like that. Might be interesting to add that stuff in just if you're interested in the maintenance side of things. So that'd be really cool. Maybe do some ballast replacement, or wear and tear on the tracks has to be fixed over time, but that would be a cool feature. Otherwise, I think the biggest thing that Run8 can continue to work on is just adding more routes in and rolling stock and DLC. This game does have less DLC than you'll find in other train simulators, but that's fair. It's a small development team of only a couple of guys, so it's not a massive organization that's making this, and this is their second job. This is not their primary job, so it is fair that we only have so much that we do, but as a game that is over 10 years old, I personally would love to see more content added into the game, and maybe that could be done through more third-party developers, or a route builder, or community involvement. And this goes also for not just routes, but locomotives, locomotive reskins, and all that fun stuff. It'd be great to see more into this game because it has so much potential. It's such a great game. I'd love to see this game continue on into the years, into the future, with more content that excites people. The only word of caution I would have for new people coming in, it is a small community, so you're not going to find on these multiplayer servers 20, 30, 40, 50 people on at a time. You're going to see maybe 5, 6 at most. Sometimes there will be sessions that might have more people, but it is a smaller community because a chunk of people play single player, a chunk of people play on one multiplayer server, a chunk of people play on another multiplayer server, so you do have a smaller community than you'd find in other simulators, but that's totally fine. A lot of people have wanted the graphics to be overhauled. Obviously, you can see a lot of the vegetation in the game is more flat bushes, flat trees. Personally, I really do think the graphics it's acceptable, it's good. Run8 did focus on the physics and the realism more than the graphics, which is fine. Maybe someday in the future we will see more graphics, but it's definitely not using top modern graphics. So if you're looking for a game that has pretty graphics, great scenery, this might not be the simulator for you. I personally think it's okay, but I know a lot of people do want to see a graphics overhaul done to this game. But that's basically Run8 for you. We are coming up here to a diverging approach signal, which means we're heading into the siding here at Bissell. If you do want, again, to check out Run8, the link's in the description below. You can check out all the DLC they currently do have available, and then the Depot Plus link is also in the description below. Additionally, Depot Plus has some great maps that are available. If you would like to download those, they're great guides if you're new to Run8 and you want to know what the speed limits are. They also have a lot of things like signal references and stuff like that, so there's a ton of resources out there for you if you're new to Run8. And if you're a seasoned Run8 driver, those maps are phenomenal to download and just save somewhere. You can print them if you want, but I always just download them and have them open They show a lot of detailed stuff in them, and they're great for when you're running along here. It basically acts as your own mini employee timetable. And with that, we're going to pull into the siding here. We've dropped down to 30 miles an hour, which is the speed you have to be at coming past a yellow signal, preparing to stop at the next signal, which should be a red. I've also got the distance counter running right now, just so I know when I clear the back end of the siding and I can officially stop the train. I do see in the distance up there, you can see the red signal up there that we're going to have to come to a stop at. I would definitely recommend when you are driving a train, come into that red signal slower than you would want. Trust me, those signals sneak up on you sometimes, and rather than being at 20 miles an hour and frantically throwing the brakes on to try and stop your train, or using the cheat key in Run8, which basically is just setting your parking brake and insta-stopping the train, I'd recommend approaching the signal at maybe 15 and just taking it nice and slow up there so you don't risk running the signal. Especially if you're on a multiplayer session or a multiplayer server, you don't want to run the red and run into somebody else's train. That's not good. Down the speed a little more here, down to, I'll bring it now down to 20 here. We're about 5,000 feet into the siding. The siding is 8,000 feet, so we're just going to fit it. And that is why you want to have those maps, is because you don't want to end up trying to pull into a siding that, you can see the siding lengths on some of the dispatcher screens as well. There's our train right here, and you can see below it says 8,039 feet. The next siding is 7,231, which is why we're not going down there. We wouldn't fit, and then we would block all the other trains from getting through. Alright, here comes the red. I'm going to go ahead and set some brakes. We have about 600 feet that needs to clear the signals. Down to 15. I'll just leave the brakes on here. 14. I'm going to actually release them because we're slowing down a little bit faster than I expected. Alright, now we're going to set them again. And just let it sort of cruise up to the signal. Let's go ahead and set them again. There's the beep. We're past the signal. Go set it to 80. I'll go ahead and set my locomotive brakes. We're below 10 miles an hour, so we can put a little extra brake on. And there we are. The EOT has disappeared, meaning the back of the train is stopped. And we have come to a complete stop. Dim the headlight. And we have made it to Bissell Siding. Switches are all lined back. Someone did line the switch back for me, so I don't have to throw that. But if I was running on here with no dispatcher and there was no other player watching, I would have to throw that switch back myself, just so another player doesn't run into the back of me. And we'll double check now on the back of our train is clear of the siding. It is, you can see, just. And there we are, we made it to the siding. We'll go ahead and set the reverser back to neutral. Headlights are dimmed. I usually throw the parking brake on just as an extra precaution, but as you can see here, our brakes are set 80, 72 on the locomotive brake, and we are parked, and we are good to go. And that's it. We have made it to Bissell. We have tied down the train. It is now ready for the next crew to take it on north over to Hatchby Pass towards Bakersfield and Fresno, and on the rest of its trip to Stockton. Thank you all for watching this first video on the channel. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. Additionally, if you have any train simulator requests or if you have any other questions about Run8, please let me know in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this video, also be sure to subscribe for more content down the road. Thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.